Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Untold Ireland. Now, joining us today is the wonderful Sean McCarthy, who's been nice enough to do an interview with us. Obviously, we're not doing the interview here in Rogers, we're over in his gaff. But thank you very much to everyone who has been supporting. I won't keep you much longer, guys. Enjoy the interview.
How are you doing today, Sean? Would you just like to say what's your name and when and where you were born?
My name is Sean McCarthy. I was born in Kenmare. In fact, I was born in an era. I was born in the house, not in a hospital, or not in a maternity hospital. So I was born in the mid-40s, grew up on the farm. There were 8 of us in the family. I was lucky to grow up on the farm because we had our own vegetables, our own potatoes, our own milk, our own eggs, and the whole lot. So from a young age then, I worked on the farm between saving hay, setting potatoes, setting vegetables, stoking the corn when it came around, milking the cows by hand because there was no electricity there at the time. So we had to do all the work at that particular time was all manual labour, so we had to get used to that, and that was the kind of work we had to do to keep going at that particular time. At that particular time then very few had secondary education. If you did go to secondary school, you had to cycle, you had no other choice. There were secondary schools in Kenmare, all right, at the particular time. There was the vocational school where boys and girls went to. There was the Port Clare Convent where all the girls went to and got their secondary education. And there were few places around town where the boys went for their secondary education. In fact, the Lime Tree today in Kenmare was one of the secondary schools at that particular time. So, but free transport came in then in 1968. So everyone, no matter how far they were from town, was able to avail of the secondary education. So that's my story about Kenmare anyway.
And you mentioned town there. What can you tell us about your first job you worked?
Well, I was in an individual position as my first job. I was lucky enough to do my leaving cert. I did my leaving cert in the month of June 1963, and on the 6th of July that particular year, my father was killed by lightning out saving hay. So I had no choice, being the oldest of the family and being the oldest boy, to take over the farm. So that was my first job. So I had no other choice on it to go at that. So it was an eye-opener when you realise you had to take it over. You know, I was someone else making up, deciding what was to be done or what kind of work. But I was ahead for the day. I had to make up that, and you had to get used to all kinds of work, from selling cattle, selling cows, buying different stuffs, feeding stuffs, and from time to time we had pigs also at the time, like, so that was another thing you had to buy and sell those on the fair, like. But in fairness then, the older people now who would be 25, 30 years older than me helped me out, like they had more experience of selling cattle and selling the different things. So they were a great help to me, to quite honest. One neighbour in particular was very good. He stood out altogether, like. But after a while then I got used to it myself, so I carried on then after that then, like, as I say, I had to start working at the farm, but I walked away. I got help from my brothers and sisters at different jobs when they were in the school holidays. So eventually, after about 10 years, I bought a tractor. But a few years before that, then it made the work very light in comparison with the manual labour. We also bought a milking machine, which made the milking of the cows much easier. Where I put up the numbers then, because you had the milking machine did the work, so that was my first job, like, so.
Mm-hmm.
I got used to it and I enjoyed it and for a while, so
Yeah.
yeah.
And was it difficult in the beginning, like taking?
Oh, it was, but it was all hard labour, like
Yeah.
everything from saving hay to what do you call it, everything was manual, so like you can imagine, slept off in the morning with a 2-prong pike going saving hay, and
Yeah.
we were going doing any other work. It was all piking hay or anything at all, piking corn or anything, like it was all manual labour. So. But then when the tractor came in, it made things much easier altogether.
Would you still be working on the farm sometimes? Or?
Today,
Yeah, like, you know.
oh, I would, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would. Like talking about what do you call it now, you see, I was saying to you, the first night you came with your mother.
Mm.
Like, you cut the corn that time, you cut the oats and the barley.
Yeah.
But it was cut with a ribbon binder, like, and you had never had
Yeah.
what a ribbon binder was.
Mhm.
And like, it cut the thing and it made a sheaf out of it. You have had the sheaf of oats, so that would be owned.
No, I wouldn't know.
Well, and that was owned, and then you put it in about 10 or 12
Mm-hmm.
sheaves together, and they were brought in, and then maybe a month or 6 weeks later, the thrasher came in.
Mm-hmm.
And the thrasher came in, and there was all you throw up the sheaves on top of the thrasher.
Mm-hmm.
There was the younger fellas now was to be up there with the knives cutting the bale twine or the turf today.
Yeah.
They'd be cutting that, and there was one fella, feed it as they call it.
Mm-hmm.
There was in the front end the straw came out. There was 2 fellas, one fella taking it, and there was 2 fellas then making a reek of straw.
Mm-hmm.
As well as that, then there was another fella in the back. There was 5 or 6 places where the grain came out, and you hooked on the bag onto the thing behind.
Mm-hmm.
When it filled up so far, there was 2 more fellas then, we'll say. The thrasher was here now where your car is, and what do you call it, the barn was at the far end of the yard there now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you had fellas drawing it away on their back, like.
Jesus.
Oh yeah, and it was stored in a house
Mm-hmm.
for the winter. Mostly the oats that was there was fed to the horses at the time, and also the hens and the chickens.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the straw then was fed to the horses. You filled up your bags of barley every so often, then over the winter.
Mm-hmm.
You carried them into the creamery inside, and you came home with bags of barley meal.
Mm-hmm.
That was fed to the calves, the cows, and the whole lot, like.
Yeah.
And then it was all root crops. You had, you know what the turnip is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, there was mangles there then. They were like the turnips, but they were a kind of a yellowish colour. They'd be the same colour now as the bottom thing there, like.
Mm-hmm.
They were mangles. And then there was, later in life then, Father Beat came on, but Father Beat was the same as the sugar beet that we got the sugar from
Mm-hmm.
long ago. And they were set in the fall and the start of the year. They were 10 then, like you would. They were set in, there was a special seeder
Yeah.
for setting them. They were set, and you came along after when they were up about 4 inches. You tend them then, like you give them. There was, there'd be like the cabbage plant today or the whatever it would be. They were tinned, and then they were pulled in the fall of the year, brought to the house. There was a pulper then, and there was a pulper who put in their turnip and took them out in little slivers.
Mm-hmm.
That was fed to the, what do you call it, as well. And you had the potatoes then, everyone had about an acre of potatoes.
Yeah.
And then all the small little potatoes now around the same size as cherry tomato.
Yeah.
They'd be kept, they wouldn't be thrown away, huh?
Mm-hmm.
You had the potatoes were into a pit. The little small ones were brought into the house and then fed to the cows in the fall of the year. So there was no waste, yeah.
Yeah.
There was no waste. So, and the same then, there was the turnip today, like as you know, there'd be leaves on it.
Yeah.
the leaves of the pangolins and the other beets at that particular time then were fed to the cows as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
and everything then, all the farmyard manure then was drawn out with the horse and car. You had to pike it into the horse and car first.
Mm.
Then you had to carry it 300 or 400 yards out of the field,
Yeah.
divide it out in heaps again, and come along then with a 4-prong pike. I'm talking about manual labour now.
Yeah.
And that had to be spread again, so
Joe, that's actually very interesting that you say all that, because you wouldn't think, like, you know, feeding the cattle and stuff with the leaves off a turnip, no, because nowadays we're like, oh yeah, give them silage, and feed, to be grand, like, yeah.
well, the silage didn't start until the early 70s, like.
Oh yeah?
It started a bit before that, like, but there was still an awful lot of people saving hay, like.
Mm-hmm.
But then the early 70s, then the silage started and then as the years went by, then, like, you went from the pit silage to the round bales, like, and most of the people around the side of the country now should be all round bales, like.
Yeah.
When we started first now, even if you had only 4 or 5 acres of ground to cut for silage, to cut for the harvester,
Yeah.
you probably see it now and again there, the likes of Donegal and Sean McCarthy and a few, but like the most now is, you know, sent for
Mm-hmm.
their own bales. That got very modernised too. Then what happened first was someone made their own bale of silage, and you had to pick it up on a spike,
Yeah.
and there was a big plastic bag to wrap it around, and it was trying to get as much air as you could out of the plastic bag.
Mm-hmm.
But then the wrappers came in then, and
Yeah.
that changed all that again. So now you can get, as you see with your Uncle Mike, you can do one machine can do the
Everything,
baling
like.
and the wrapping.
Yeah.
And then he can come along then and he can put his bale up on the, what do they call it, the feeder, and
Yeah.
it feeds it out to the cattle. Like, so.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, the development machinery today is
Yeah.
unreal. Like,
It's night and day, like.
yeah.
Yeah.
And as well as that, like, long ago, like, if you had to, were making a roadway into a house, you had to go along and get some fella to board the rock. If you came across rock as you went into the house, you had to get some fella to board it.
Mm.
And then you had to get some fella to blast it, and you had to get, God, the cars on either side, they had to be there when it was nowadays, like, you know yourself, every second fella with a track machine has a rock breaker, like, so
Yeah.
that made things.
Mm-hmm.
You can build now today where you wouldn't dream of building long ago, like that.
Mm-hmm. Sure, even kind of up by us, like where the house is now, like they had to flatten like half the bloody hill,
Yeah.
and sure you couldn't do that before. Though,
No,
like,
no.
It's just amazing, like the
Yeah.
difference in it all.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned Kenmare a couple of times there. What can you tell us about your what it was like growing up in Kenmare, like?
So, it was different to what it is today. There was an awful lot of pubs there.
Mm-hmm.
There was 3 hotels there, and very few restaurants, not like there is today.
Mm-hmm.
So there was also a cinema there, which turned out to be where people sold carpets after. But there was films shown on a Tuesday night, on a Thursday night, and a Sunday night. Where the Carnegie Library is today, that was where all the dances were held at that particular time. And there was also plays shown there as well. But it has completely changed now. Like there was a modern dance hall built then in the early 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the bigger show bands at the time came and played there.
Would that have been the Silver Slipper?
Yes, that's
down in the
right.
square, yeah.
Yeah, and there's an awful lot of high class restaurants there today that weren't there in my time, like, so.
Mm-hmm.
And there are, as everyone knows, then we have 2 5-star hotels, Sheen Falls and the Park Hotel. So that was Korea. Then there was a fair day held once every month. It was all cattle and pigs, There were only about 4 fair days then for the sheep, and they were all in the fall of the year from early September until the end of October. There were also market days, which were on Wednesday, like people before my time, they sold all their stuff on the market day in Square in Kenmare, whether it was potatoes or turnips or whatever. They had to sell at that particular time. So, like, it has completely changed now since. It has changed an awful lot over the years. Like, it is a big, thriving tourist town today. Like, and there are an awful lot of different cultures in Kenmare now, like from different countries. People are very anxious to come and live in Kenmare. Like, they see the scenery and what you call it, like something which scenery never meant anything to me growing up, but now as I got older, I was able to enjoy it. I could see the how much. If you moved inland, like, you realise there was no scenery, there was no mountains and things like that. Like, so. Other than that, like, I suppose like all places, it modernised us. When I was a young fella, then everyone that cycled to the pub and cycled to the church and cycled to the play and cycled to the football field. There was very little cars then, like, but as things moved on, then more and more cars came on, and more and more tractors came on then by all the other farmers as well. So things have completely changed in that line. Like,
You mentioned there, Sean, all the kind of changes that happened in Kenmare over time, and it's different now. Like, do you believe that the Kenmare you grew up in kind of shaped you as the person you are?
well, it was something to say it did. Like, you had to work hard for everything that time. Like, and well, I suppose I was thrown in, I would say, at the deep end. Like, so I had to appreciate everything I worked for, which people wouldn't be as appreciative today because they expected, like, whereas that time it wasn't handed to you, you had to work for it. So. And then as you got older, then when you could see improvements coming, you enjoyed what you were doing, like. And as I get older, then again, like, with the different modernisation of things, it was enjoyable, and it was also a challenge from time to time then with weather and the different things. So I said that would have shaped me, because everything you had, you had to work, you earned it, like. So that would be my reading and thinking of it now, like.
And what was it like then as well, kind of, when you had to take over the farm and you started kind of providing for your siblings, and you kind of saw them going off and doing everything?
Yeah, well, when I went off first, like, I was, how did I say? I was disappointed, like, to see them going, and then when they'd come home and they would tell you they were in such a place in Dublin and Cork and so on. You kind of said, like, they have only a 5-day week. I was milking cows at the time, so it was a 7-day week. But then when you got into the field of things, you didn't feel deprived in the end, because you had your own stock and you had your own farm, and eventually built a house in a new house in 1970. So everything, like, everything that you worked hard for, you appreciated more than if you got it from someone, like. So that would be my thinking, but like today.
Yeah. And kind of living the life that you've lived now, what would you say would be the key changes between the generations that you've noticed?
Well, you see, I grew up at a time when there was no ESB in the house. I had only the lamp. Now, like, the first thing that, when we got the ESB into the house, the first thing we got was the electric kettle.
Yeah.
Because the older people had to light the fire in the morning to boil the kettle. Now, like, you plug it in, but you can do everything now with the electricity, from dishwashers to clothes dryers to washing machines to you name it, vacuum cleaners, you name it, they're all there like. So all those made life much easier. And then like the changes in the agricultural side of things, like everything can be done today with a tractor. Like even long ago when we went out to do a bit of fencing, you had to go to the bar and sledge. Now there's a post driver on the back of the tractor.
Yeah.
If you wanted to split a bit of timber for the house, you had to go to your axle with one of those, what do you call it? Now there's a log splitter that fits on the back of the tractor, like, so.
Yeah.
Everything is so, what do you call it today, like, there's no...
It's just easy, like.
Yeah, there's no heavy manual labour, like.
Yeah,
so.
like, I'd say the log splitter is a great example there, because it's the difference between cutting these big massive logs by yourself all day, or just throwing it on the back of the tractor and the tractor doing all the work for
That's
you.
right,
Just
yeah.
put them away, like.
Even if you go back far enough then as well, before, well, the chainsaw came in alright in the early 60s that I can remember, but if you go back before that, I remember to see my late father and someone else cutting timber with a cross cut. Now I don't know, you don't think know what a cross cut is like. But,
No.
oh yeah, well that's it. It was a saw like the two people that they used, like.
Yeah.
Then, as you know yourself, the chainsaw made thing of cutting timber, and that time then as well, all the turf had to be cut with a shlawn. Came out and you had to do and so on. Now you can go in with your how do you call the modern machinery with a JCB at a track machine and dig out the bog and put it into the what do you call it? I can't think of the name of the thing now, but
I can't think of them off the top of my head.
yeah.
I'll find it
So
after.
like that has, well, you know, we can't cut turf anymore now with the climate changes, like, but you know that was all manual labour as well, like. So that changed things as well for people like over the years. So most significant change in my lifetime is the big development of the in medicine today. Like you had long ago now, but if a person got a stroke or a heart attack or even had blood pressure, there was really no solution to it. Like, but now the development in medicine today, like, has people are living longer and living healthier lives. Like, that wasn't available there. Like, and to me, like the modern machinery, as I already said, like, made life a lot easier. Like, so they're the biggest things I have seen. Like, everyone when I was growing up, it was only a horse and car. Like, now everyone has no matter how small the farms, they has a tractor. Like, so tractor and the medicine were the two biggest things I see. Biggest changes I saw on the farm. Like, so.
And I'd say it was like night and day then when they were kind of introduced, like, cut the workload in half almost.
Yeah.
How would you say the younger generation would differ from your own?
The younger generation, like, to me, don't realise what happened when they were young. Like, they can, they have, I would say, no, I could be wrong, but they have no interest in their ancestors or in their history. Like, and I think to me, that would be a very good thing because they'd find out where they came from and they'd find out a lot of interesting things that that they wouldn't be aware of. But I don't think they have that kind of an interest in those things. So that'd be
it'd all be kind of what's going on now and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's also, you know, there's kind of just that tiny bit of entitlement that comes with kind of the generation we have because everything's so accessible to us. Like,
you think you're entitled to something nowadays, like, without having to work for it. Like, so I think that's a big change, like, as well. So,
like, because I'd say that a lot of us, we'd have the freedom that we kind of get to explore what we want to do with our lives and kind of all that. And it's a bit of a stark contrast, like,
but
you know.
as I have said earlier as well, then, like, the free transport and free education came in 1968, like, When I was did my leaving back in '63, I'd said there was the numbers going to university or third level education, whichever you want to call it, were very small, like, and most of them that time only went to become secondary teachers and so on. Now, but the selection that's there now today, you can be anything you want or do anything you want to, like, it's unbelievable. Like when you hear people talk about the CAO, is it CAO courses that?
I think it's CAO.
Is it? Is that what they call them?
Sure.
Yeah. Courses like, you have such a selection or a choice, like, so. You know, and if you have the marks today, like, or the pints, you can do anything you like, and then if you're not happy after maybe 12 months, you can also change because you still have the pints that you had on the very first day, like, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking on generations there still, is there any aspect from your generation that you'd like to kind of see more of in the younger generation then?
As I've already said there, like, I don't think they have any interest in ancestors or history of the locality, or, you know, where their forefathers came from, or how they ended up in different places, or why different rituals had followed every year, like, and they have different explanations for what happened at different times of the year. So other than that, like, can't think of a whole lot, like.
So you just kind of, you'd want them to go back and kind of just look at where they came from.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And inquire, like, from there, if they're lucky enough to have a grandfather alive, question him about the different aspects of life when he was younger, like, and so that's the way I'd look at it, like, then, and they'd be surprised what they would learn from them, like.
Yeah. So even when the two of us started this, like, the things we've learnt just going around interviewing people and asking them questions like this, and it's cool to know, like, you know, because it's nice to know what it was like before we were around, and to know. And then kind of just finishing up there, is there any words of wisdom that you'd like to give to the younger generation now?
As I said to the young crowd, always be humble. Never forget where you came from. Show respect to everyone you'll meet, and they will show respect back to you. And at the end of the day, we all matter. So that would be my thing to the young crowd today.
Sean, it was an absolute pleasure to talk to you. And thank you so much for joining us.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. I very much enjoyed that interview anyway. Links to all of our social medias will be down below in the description. You know, our TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, the lot of them, all down below. There's a little link tree, you can hit it and it'll bring you to this page. It has all of them there. Make sure you like and subscribe. We have an awful lot of viewers that are not subscribing, so it would be much appreciated if you just hit the button there, lads. I want to say a special thank you to Sean Mac for joining us. I've been waiting to do this interview for a while. He's an old family friend of ours. Yeah, thank you very much for supporting the video, guys. Once again, like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. See you, lads.